It's your boy Ron here. I got my coach here, Coach Mike Grant, somebody that was very instrumental to my career. You know, one of the best head coaches I ever had, a DeLaSalle legend, kickball legend, as I've been seeing lately. You know, an educator. You know, a good man. Welcome to the show, Coach Grant. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing well, sir. Doing well. Appreciate the opportunity right here. Seriously.
Nah, man. You know, you was very highly requested. You know, I got the group chat with the guys, and it was like, get Coach Grant, get Coach Grant. I'm like, oh, that's no problem. That's a phone call. So I'm
Right,
glad
right.
to have you on here, man.
Yeah, it's good times. I'm looking forward
So,
to it.
hey, so I always start off with like it's not really a question. It's like a core memory, like something that me and you know. So, do you remember our freshman year, the freshman year team, right? Do you remember when we went and played against Blake and I ran I think it was a 27 sweep, a sweep left. Boom! I hit the Reggie Bush, cut across the field. I'm gone. Nobody in sight. And I did the little Mario skip. Do you remember when I did that in the end zone?
Yes,
Do you
I
remember
do.
that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Yes, I
it's crazy. I was telling somebody, I was like, you know what? Coach Grant was not happy about that.
about to say, do you remember my reaction?
Yeah, yeah, he was salty because I remember we had film the next day, and he was like, if it wasn't a good play, I would have cussed
No.
your so and so out. So I was like, yeah, that was bogus because we was whooping them though, and I shouldn't have did that. But I was young, I was trying to show out.
Hey, well, your nickname wasn't Reggie for no reason. That's what it was. The times, kind of. That's what it was. It was kind of show a little fun and have it. I was talking to Bryce. Because before that, earlier in the year, I don't know if you remember. Also, we ran a ISO reverse,
Mhm.
and you busted it out the backside all alone. And ever since that moment, we were just like, man, that's low res. Like literally, that's low butt. Look at how he's moving, how he's jumping, how he's bouncing. So when you did do that play, yeah, you made up for the wrongs that ended up happening.
Yeah. So all right, man. Let's talk about your upbringing. So like, where did you grow up? Where you from, and where did you grow up?
Right, right. Straight north side right here. But north side till we die, 12th and Newton. I kind of grew up in the days, man, and I had a really cool older brother that 5.5 years older than me. I hung out with him all the time. So I got to know all the old school cats that grew up, man. He took me in, and so I played football basically with Hospitality House back in the late 80s, middle 80s, when I was a little shorty, 13, 12 years old, playing with cats half, twice my size and all that. But my dad too, man, with my brother, we used to literally like have 6 or 7 different full equipment outfits that we could bring. So we'd have our equipment and run through the hood and bring them over to other people. We play in different parks, different spot people and all that, man, for real, like as kids. So Northside was a little different back then, but
Right.
we could do that. We was kind of having fun in the community.
So you said you played for the Hospitality House. They had a football team back then.
My brother played there, and I used to practice with them.
Okay.
Where I played, it's kind of weird. My dad grew up over south, so I ended up playing for McRae over south. Growing,
No.
I know, man, it was rock. Me and him used to argue, like literally, go at it, because I want to play for North Commons or Farview,
Right.
like that. But
Yeah, because you right down the street from North Carolina. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, did you play for North Carolina? Oh, that's surprising that you played for McRae. Okay. Okay. So
right,
when did you start? When did you start playing football for McRae? Like, how old were you?
we was in second grade, like back in 8, 9 years old. I had like
What?
42 touchdowns my first.
42 touchdowns? That's crazy. So who did y'all play? So did y'all play like King,
Yep, yep.
Sibley? Did y'all play any Northside teams?
So that's what Farview. Yep. So like,
Okay.
I don't know if you know Adrian Patterson and Akeem, all them. That's who
Yep. Yep.
Farview back in the day during our time. So yeah, we played them. We played North Commons would have a team here and there, but they wasn't consistent. So that's kind of why I didn't play for them specifically.
Okay. So you went where the winners was at.
Hey, we did win.
So
Ain't
you
gonna
say
lie.
you had 42 touchdowns. So when you was playing at McRae, was there any like standout dudes that you played against? 'Cause you said Adrian Patterson. Wasn't he a hooper though?
Yeah, Big
Yep.
Adrian was a hooper. Whatever. But like when we grew up, there were cut tons of names in general. I'm trying to remember now. That's back in the day. But we had like a cat named Quincy. That was pretty cool. and no one really made it anywhere because then, more hood cats, so
Right,
like people were trying to live more than thinking about going D1
right.
or even had that opportunity. No one really knew that was even an option, kind of some in our respects of doing that. It wasn't a lot of people that had did it before us. So from this neighborhood, so it was cool. But big name wise, man, I'll think about it. It'll pop up in my head a little bit that we played with growing up.
Okay. So growing up over north on 12th and Newton, that's not, the sweetest area, in the hood. So like,
Right.
how was that day to day like? Cause I grew up over north too. Like, and I tell people like, man, it's not sweet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Us Northsiders, we have a different mentality. Like, they know, like, you could tell when a kid is from the North Side. We have that grit, that mentality or whatever. Cause you gotta have it growing up over there. So like, and you grew up in the '80s, and that was a tough time in America. So talk about that.
Well, man, I don't say this to brag because it ain't nothing to brag about like this. It's people's lives. The first person I seen get killed was in third grade. And literally it was right in front of the police station. It
Mm,
was after some stuff that happened, da 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 da. Things are already going. So I ain't snitching on nobody. It's a long time ago, but that's the honest God truth. It wasn't the only time that happened. It wasn't the last piece. I got major famous people that I've seen braze on the ground, unfortunately. Tysell Nelson, like minutes after that happened. We had some huge major neighborhood pieces that went down that way. Police beatings that took place and a few things there and the riots that happened on that all that time. I was right in the middle of all of it. Literally, it was a block away from my house with Pastor Jim, or not Pastor Jim, but Pastor Paul. Sorry. So yeah, man, it was real. It was hot, but it was genuine, man. It was love. It was blood. It was, you felt comfortable where you were. I was out there at midnight, one in the morning, running around, not necessarily worrying about what's around my shoulder. You could do that again then. But at the same time, we were still doing wrong. We shouldn't have been out at 1 o'clock in the morning,
right,
things like that. But it was cool. Northside has some vibe to it.
right. Yeah, it's definitely for me. Like, I tell people like it's just a different mentality growing up over there. Like you have a sense of pride. Like, oh, you from the North Side? Oh, yep, yep. So yeah, I appreciate that though, because like I don't, I'm a '90s kid, but like it was popping, but it wasn't. I know like back in the '80s it was popping. You know what I'm saying? So like, so let's get back into the football origin. So you at McRae? Did you play with McRae like through 8th grade, or did you go to any other teams?
Yeah, I played till 8th grade. Just generally over there, we won like 4 or 5 city titles. And we just had some fun, man. We just played some football, hitting folks, trying to be physical. I'm usually the littlest dude on the field, so it's kind of funny that when I'm out there having fun, playing middle linebacker, running back. But I got to know so many people because of that, man. That
Right,
like the relationships and everything. When the little dude on the field gets something done, other people got to follow. So
right.
it was kind of cool that way to help me to with later on in my life.
Did you play any other sports besides football growing up?
Oh yeah, everything you can think of it. Should I even play golf? But I was a hooper. I
Mm-hmm. Of
wasn't a true hooper. I was a football player that played hoop, but had some fun with that
course.
because athletic and everything. But and then baseball, actually, baseball, track, so all of it, you name it. We kept ourselves busy trying to stay out of the spots we didn't have to be in and keep ourselves active. But yeah, that's all it was in sports for me growing up.
For sure. Did you go to like Jerry Gamble's a lot when you was a shorty?
Man, I was a 1986, 87 Gold Glove champ, baby. You know it. That's where I boxed at.
Oh, for
Um,
real?
yeah, Jimmy Cook, old school boxing coach. I came from a little family, the Haydens of boxers as well. But yeah, that was it. I used to have to go run around the spot and find people to spar and total strangers and all that. But yeah, oh yeah, Jake, that was the spot. We used to hoop there too all the time, and that was just kind of the place that all the doors were open at the parks back in the day. I'd be at North Commons from 8 till 5 o'clock at night. Same thing at the Gambles. You didn't necessarily have to have it, but
Right.
they'd hook it up. So oh yeah,
For sure.
the Gambles
For
was that
sure.
spot.
Yeah, that's another thing why I appreciate about the North Side, man. Like, it's a welcoming community. As much as the stigma we have, it's like you could go anywhere and feel like accepted as long as you know somebody for sure. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? And you could hoop anywhere, play football anywhere. Hey, you want to race? We're gonna race right here in the middle of the street, just
Yeah,
like that.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what's up, man. Any other like crazy stories, growing up on the north side as a youngin?
Well, you just talking about the races. We used to have the block races up on Plymouth, back in the day, and the big block parties.
Yep.
I used to win those races. So that's another thing that used to kind of get my name out there was little fast dude, little shorty was a sport cat, kind of thing. And so it was the community, like I said, kind of built you that way, and they set up situations where you could take advantage of stuff that way. And so that's what you was known at. But growing up, man, there's so many stories as far as what we used to hit the hood, right? You could play everywhere, play anyone. We used to set people up. My brother was a quarterback, so he'd throw cats high, low. I'd take them out. Just all kind of just some fun stuff. It
That's
was
what's
like,
up.
right.
All right, man. So after your 8th grade year, you end up going to DeLaSalle. What was that decision like? What made you go to DeLaSalle? Because you got North right down the street. You know what I'm saying? Henry, on the opposite side. Like, what was the main factor you going to DeLaSalle?
It was really, my mom and them, they just wasn't trying to let me go to North. My brother graduated at 9. That's where I wanted to go. We played our championship city game on North's field the first week of school. I got phone calls from North's communication people talking about, hey, you thinking about coming? What's going on? But I had the whole crew that was at McRae that I played with ended up going to DeLaSalle. So I had a crew of about 8, 9 guys that, even like I said, Adrian Patterson back in the day, few of us decided to go over there. And so it was like a movement kind of thing that was happening. I was not happy. I was hot. I argued with my parents, like I said, for the first couple months, but DeLaSalle won me over. That Catholic piece, that Catholic guilt, I'll say, kind of won me over. So yeah, it ended up being the home.
No, I feel you. That's how it was with me. Like, I was like, my grandma did the same thing to me, and I shared this on a previous pod. Thought I was going to Washburn, and my homeschool was North. I'm off of 22nd and Thomas. That's down the street. And she was like, no, you're going to a private school. So first she tried to send me to St. Agnes. I'm like, I'm not going to St. Paul. Then she said St. Thomas. I said, I'm not going to no all boys school. And then she was like, all right. So like I knew like Jeremy Randall. And then like Tim, his dad was telling me like, why don't you go do so? And then I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Then I shadowed, and then all my boys, I found out the same thing. Like all my boys I played football and basketball with, they going. I'm like, oh yeah. When I got there, it won me over. I fought my grandma too, but as soon as I got there, I was like, oh, I never wanted to leave. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so when you get to De La Salle, man, like how was it? What public school did you go to? I forgot to ask you that.
Right. So I went to, they used to make the north side go to northeast, but was
So you
on
went to
12.
Northeast?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was at public school there. I went to Lincoln, right across the street from where I grew up. Bethune, got kicked out of Bethune. But anyway, different story. But yeah, so all city schools there, right there, north side, and then jumping over there was a major difference. They were actually doing school. I ain't trying to be funny about school, but they were doing. So it was a lot of barriers. It was some learning that I had to do. People looked out for me though, and that's really what it boiled down to is that they cared, even if they didn't know what was going on with the person. They found out who you was. That's why I went back. It was just that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. I remember you telling me like, "Hey, you better do your homework." Like you said, like you come from public school to private, it's a dramatic change, no matter how smart you is. Because when they tell you it's 2 hours of homework, hey, it's 2 hours of homework, and you
Oh yeah.
better do it,
Yep.
or them grades gonna be terrible. Like, man, I remember that though. But yeah, that's crazy. So you get there, obviously, it's a little bit different. How diverse was it back then? Because I know when I was there, it was super diverse.
Yeah. It was the same. That's
Same.
why another reason why it's hard to say anything bad about it because it looked like us. It was us that was there. So it wasn't just, a one-sided thing that a few people here and there are peppered in.
Mm-hmm.
It was north side, south side.
Right. So was brother Michael was there at the time too, right?
Yeah. Hey, funny story. Brother Michael, right? It's funny, literally. He asked my great grandma to marry him.
What?
Yeah. So I got deep family at DeLaSalle. My cousins, James Grant, they were like 1952 graduates, one of the first brothers to graduate out of DeLaSalle. And so Brother Michael had known my family as I got there. And I didn't know that, right? I just kind of found that out through the years. But yeah, him and my granny were at it together and everything. And so it's just some funny old stories that we've talked about. Found out I grew up right across, like down the street from him over north. And
Yeah.
there was some history there that ran into real fast.
Hold on, man. How is he trying to marry your grandma and he's a Christian bro
Correct. Right. It was at that
or a
time.
Catholic bro?
He was making that decision in life where you go one way or the other.
Okay, okay,
Where that's kind of what it was. But yeah,
man.
I crack up. I used to hold that over his head all the time too.
Hey,
Uh,
that's funny, man. Shout out to brother Michael. I was just like, man, it can't be. I'd be every time I saw him, like, man, I know you got somebody. No disrespect, but it's like, he just a cool dude,
oh yeah, yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that was my guy. So, man, all right. So let's get into the sports. So when you got there, did you play like varsity right away?
I did my sophomore year, so I
Sophomore.
started yeah my football my sophomore year and played outside linebacker and special teams, all that, and took a senior's position. Actually, he's a good dude though. Tony, Tone was a good man. And then I actually halfway through the year ended up playing fullback, starting fullback. So yeah, sophomore year was my first shine on the varsity level.
How was your season that year? Like, were y'all tough back then or what?
Yeah, we did. We go to the championship every year, the Tri Metro semifinals championship, and unfortunately lost, but would lose by a point or 2 points or things like that. Like my senior year, we lost 8-12 to Jordan, I think it was. I had 32 tackles, 27 solos, the only touchdown in the game on our side, but our quarterback threw 5 interceptions, and so we did win that game, right? But
Right.
yeah, we had some fun out there.
Okay. And you hoop too, right?
Yeah, yep. I was hoop my junior year, senior year was varsity. Wasn't didn't get as much click though, hooping wise. I was more role player, kind of the tough dude on the team, the leader to get guys going. But I had some fun playing hoop. We did some things.
Who was the coach back then?
It was Ed Cassidy was everyone all the way up to my junior year. Good coach, kind of Hall of Fame kind of dude, big name, good systems. Had been at DeLaSalle for a while with some good teams. And then Dave Thorson was there my senior year. So we got Thorson in a whole different world of coaching and teaching. And I lost 22 pounds in 2.5 weeks with Thorson, with how much he ran us.
Wow.
Yeah, my senior year. So he came and installed a whole different world of football.
That's crazy. I always wondered that because I'm like, man, the coach didn't get coached by Thurston. I mean, that just shows how long he was at DSL and what I'm saying, that rich history he had with him. So you said you started your sophomore year. Your junior year, was you starting fullback and linebacker?
Yep, yep. Middle linebacker now at that moment. And then straight fullback. Yeah, I kind of messed up because I thought of myself as a battering ram and would do that kind of deal and didn't realize that I had the ability to actually run the ball a little bit better until my senior year. Junior year went real good. Same thing. We went to the championship game, lost by a touchdown again. We've had some, tough breaks. Teams
Mm-hmm.
like Georgia, St. Anthony, stuff like that. Had a couple racial things happen going on during that time too. And some
Mm-hmm.
games that took some stuff off, but uh, yeah, I mean, like literally my junior year, no, my sophomore year, sorry, we beat a team that beat us to put us out because of a
Mm-hmm.
fumble senior. We beat the team earlier in the year 28-7. So like they shouldn't have beat us in that championship game to go to state. But stuff happens, man.
Dang, so y'all was just continuously losing the section championship.
Correct. Correct.
Oh my
Just
God, that's tough. So
senior
you
year,
ran,
of course, knee got torn up, ACL, last game of the season. So that's why that 5 interceptions hurt.
what? But didn't y'all run like a veer offense at the time or option?
We ran a little option, but it was I. So, a lot of
Okay.
yeah, a lot of
Uh,
power off tackle and then option in the ear and there.
you ran track as well, right?
Yep. So and that helped me, you know, my junior year. What I did my junior year was kind of interesting. Not a lot of people were able to do this, but I played golf, ran track, and baseball. Actually, don't say that was my sophomore year. And I think that might have been the last time somebody was ever able to play 3 sports in one season at D, but I did do that. And all varsity sports in all of those places. Didn't go to practice much, just played in all the games and matches, and all that. So that's kind of some claim to fame on the island.
That's crazy. I bet your legs was beat doing all
Oh,
that.
oh yeah. And, my other claim is I averaged literally like, I think it was 13, 14 tackles a game.
Yeah,
Just
that's
my
tough.
sophomore year in football. So that was really it. I was really a defender.
Was you making any noise in track? Did you go to state or anything?
No, but I was more a support dude for track, and then golf is where I ended up kind of making a little bit bigger name. It's kind of weird with that, but we had a dude that was winning the state title in track, in LaShae Whitaker, my homeboy, a best friend. Rest in peace. He passed away a little while ago, but yeah, he was the one in track that we'd
What
worked
was his
with.
name?
LaShae Whitaker, state title for a little bit, fastest 100 yard stuff. I mean, he was cold. Won 2 or 3 state titles at the
Uh,
out receiver too.
Did you have any dogs you play with at DeLaSalle, like as far as football?
Yeah, there's tons of guys, man. Few O linemen, D linemen that we play with. A couple of my buddies, just in general, that played ball that didn't maybe make it too far to the league. I was kind of one of the ones that playing from high school. Like I said, our time people really didn't. We were just now starting to happen where kids were playing football in
Right.
college. Basketball was a little different, but football was. Not a lot of guys were getting out there, so we didn't have a lot of leaders to show us what was happening. That's my excuse, but and so I just kind of the people that we played with were more D3, D2 kids, and then just didn't keep playing, kind of thing.
So, how big were you in by the time your senior year of high school? Height and weight.
By the NFL standard combine, I found out that I was 5'5.5", so I would assume I was that in high school. High school, I weighed about 185, 190 pounds.
Oh, you
Um,
was you okay?
Correct.
Okay.
And I could run a 4.640, so I was a little butterball in that respects. And then after basketball season, I dropped to about 158 pounds after Thorson. And I was like grabbing the rim with 2 hands, and all of a sudden I can jump and pat the boards and things like that. So all of a sudden athleticism came out. I know
All
where
right.
I'm running 4.40s, and in the combine I had a 42-inch vertical, fast and short shuttle, all that. So like I needed to be able to do that at 5'5.5",
Okay.
in that
All right.
respect.
Well, dang. All right. So back. So I asked you that question to set you up. So like, how was recruiting? Obviously, you say like y'all were just starting to get it at the time. So like your senior year, you done with football. Obviously, you know you're gonna play football. You're not hooping. You're not running track. Football is your bread and butter.
Right.
How was like the recruiting process then? Like, how was that?
We started getting letters, all of us, a couple of us that were kind of some names here and there. Sophomore year, we're getting letters from Ohio State, Michigan, and all that. But you're learning, you don't know the process yet. So you're thinking, oh, these guys are interested. But they actually were. So we started reaching back out to them, and they would write us, little personal letters, and we started getting into the process of recruitment. And then they looked at my grades. And this is where I say we didn't know before us. I had a 1.96 GPA that was not going to allow me to be able to receive an athletic scholarship. I wasn't eligible. So once they found that out junior year, they started talking to me about ways to improve my GPA, things like that. And I just didn't follow like I should. Growing up over north, man, it was more about survival than it was about school. And when I say survival, it was more about, you know, kind of doing what you do at that age. Junior, senior year of high school, the focus just wasn't school. So that was kind of the issue a little bit.
Yep.
Uh, and so I didn't get that chance. That's where me ended up going to River Falls, Wisconsin, because I didn't. Yeah, they told me.
So
They said,
so you
"Hey,
had Ohio State and
yep,
Michigan
yep,
looking at you.
talking to position coaches, meeting with old players that went there and was kind of talking about stuff that like, yeah, yep,
Did you go?
yep.
Did so did you didn't get to go on any visits there or anything or no? Oh man.
Nope. My visits were like D3 schools, D2 schools, and so it wasn't.
So all right. So what D3 schools was looking at? Because obviously that's really what it is. Like if you're not eligible for D1, D2, the route is JUCO or a D3 gonna take you
Correct.
regardless. So like, what other D3 schools you was looking at until you made your ultimate decision?
All of them were hitting me up. The MIAC, with the Augsburgs and the St. John's and all that, they were 100% on it. All the coaches were coming, talking, sending letters, asking me to come visit, come see a game, come check it out. But I thought I was better than that. I didn't think I was a Division III player, so I didn't pay attention to any of that. We had a quarterback that played for DeLaSalle that ended up going to River Falls, Wisconsin, and they kept talking, just kept going, kept pushing. And then I went out there one time with one of my girlfriends to visit to college, and I vowed that I would never go there. It's a small town school. It was white, not just white. It was white. It was way different. And so I didn't think I'd be there. And then all of a sudden, I didn't really have a lot of options once my senior year hit. And I waited around, not having the grades. Mankato was also on the route of, you know, walking on St. Cloud. We used to go to camp at North Dakota State, so there was some communications there of, thinking about walking on there, but all of it was taking a chance, and River Falls was kind of there, so ended up right there.
Okay. All right. So you ended up choosing River Falls. River Falls is 45 minutes from the crib too, so that was a plus.
That's it.
So
That was the reason.
no, for real. No, I get it because I was getting looked at by them too, and I was just like, man, that's close to the crib. But obviously, I went where I went. But so you get to River Falls, man, and you playing tailback, right?
Yep.
Tailback. So and the WIAC, man, the WIAC people be sleep though. D3 has some really tough conferences. Like the MIAC's a tough conference. The WIAC's a tough conference. So like when you got there, like how was like that first camp? Like you and obviously you think you're better than
Right.
River Falls, but
Right.
sometimes you get there and you be like, all right, I ain't as good as I thought. But how was your experience?
It was, you could see the lack of athleticism, but they're big and strong. So unless you can take advantage of the speed and the quickness, the physical strength, again, I weighed 158 pounds going into my freshman year of
Mm,
college. Another reason why that probably was a good idea, I didn't try to get on to Ohio State or something like that. It wouldn't have been an option there at that moment in time. I wasn't lifting weights like I should have, all that. But playing out there, really, it was the physical piece that you could tell was different. They were football players. So you go heads up with a cat. Normally, I'd run it through people, running everyone over. Not a problem at all. At 158 pounds, going against 190-pound seniors that have lifted weights for 3-4 years, they could slow you down. And so that's where I started finding out, like, okay, cool. They got a little bit. At least you can see that part, with it. And then in D3, we had an intricate scheme in what we did. And how we did our scheme was the key. And the heart is where you can see at this level I felt a little bit different than when I started playing at other higher levels that I ended up seeing.
okay. So did you start right away?
I was actually, yeah, I was. My freshman year, I was put in with the first group. We had our first scrimmage, and I pulled my groin, like tore my groin, and on a 45-yard run. So it was some things happening already good and everything. And then so what I did is I redshirted my freshman year, ended up playing, being the redshirt freshman of the year because I was then practicing now with the team on the scout team, stuff like that. And then I played the rest of the next 4 years I was eligible at River Falls, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year.
Okay. So how was that? Your next year. So obviously you get the red shirt or was it player of the year? So that's pretty dope. And
Right,
then
right,
so you come back what? So it's technically your sophomore year, but it's technically like your true freshman year.
right,
So that's when you showcasing, your skills. So how was that? And what were some of them teams that you was like, oh yeah, this team is decent.
right.
I know Whitewater was good back then still. They
And
still
it
was
was
tough.
lacrosse. Lacrosse was a team to beat then. They were
Okay.
making the national title, stuff like that. My freshman year, funny story, Mike Maslowski, so middle linebacker, 6'5", 255 pounds. I'm 158 pounds. Remember that. I got a low block class. And what that is just me and him. I'm lined up 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's lined up at middle linebacker, ball snapped, me and you in the hole. And it's funny because on film, you can see us hit right at the line of scrimmage. And he didn't go anywhere. He stayed at the line of scrimmage. And I bounced back about young, adjust my helmet, and go back right at him, put him in the pile. We ended up getting like a 2-yard gain. But that was kind of the welcome of the kind of play that was happening. And he ended up playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he wasn't no slouch. He was actually a ball player. But yeah, when we played them, I knew I had to put my hat on.
So did you have any breakout games that year besides lacrosse?
Yep. I had a couple 160 plus yard games. With the option, the problem with that is you'll get 7 carries a game, you'll get 15 a game. You don't really know when it's going to happen or not. But anytime I got anywhere over 8, 9 carries, that was a 100-yard game. And Yeah, so all 4 years, the average was 10 yards. I don't like talking about this. I feel like I'm all bragging all the time.
No, talk about it. This is your pod. We talking about it.
Right, right. I had 10 yards of carry by the end of it all, 9.8 yards, all 4 years at River Falls.
So what? Okay, so what did you So what was your total yards by the time you end up graduating or finishing up football?
Yeah, it was freshman year. I had like, I think it was like 50 carries. My total most carries I had in the season were like 80. I had like
That's
80.
crazy.
Yeah, correct. But the problem though was that again,
Option.
well, also who I am might have been a little bit of a difference. So yeah, it was my brother and family, huge arguments out there, cultural questions, all that. But so I ended up, I think it was a little under 4,000 yards in those 4 years. My senior year, I only had 45 carries for 450 yards. I twisted my ankle and tore up some other things, so I was out like 4 games, but still was All American, All Conference, and all that. After
Were you
my
All American?
yeah, they call us baby All Americans at the
Hey man, All American is All American.
for sure. But yeah, so yeah, it was a good time, man. It really was.
Oh yeah, overall good. It was overall good experience.
Yeah, yeah. It struggled
Yeah,
at first being out there.
right.
Uh, Not really, we had to have our little crew of brothers out there and stuck together. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was all right.
No, I know what you mean, man. Because when I went to the Saint Scholastica in Duluth, so obviously we Northside, we come from where we see everybody black, and we come from a DeLaSalle where everybody either look like us or is super diverse, and then you go to a school where it's all white. You one of like 9 black people on the team. It's 100 something people on the team, and obviously you cold, and it's like I don't know, like it just I don't know. I had that struggle my freshman year as well, and but like again, like you said, you got to get that group of people you gravitate to, and then if you want to play ball, you dare to play ball, get your education. So yeah, so you finish up at River Falls. Did you have like pro aspirations after that?
I did like everybody. That injury hurt, and then I got into a little law trouble. Being in a small town can sometimes expose you to some things and some bad habits, and made some mistakes, and so that kind of messed with. Usually your senior year, you can go do different news reports and things like that. And I kind of was restricted from doing that because of some of those barriers that I got into. But I
Yeah,
did, I did. I went to the combines and had some fun and put up some good numbers. And I got a chance to compete with some guys that made it to the league that my numbers are better than. I did end up playing a little arena football out at Mankato for the Purple Rage
nice.
and played against some pros there that not are still playing today, but played 4 or 5 years. And I literally I had to block this middle linebacker that played in the league for 9, 10 times, and I got stories about that. That's crazy.
Well, let's talk about it. Tell me a story about that arena. What was your team called again?
It was the Minnesota Purple Rays. They
Okay,
were out of Mankato, and we're out in Green Bay playing the Bombers. In Green Bay, it's right next to the stadium out there is the arena stadium. And so, I'm kind of like, it's my chance. I want to show some people. And their running back was real good. Linebacker was guys Brooks. I remember if I remember, he's like 6'5", 250 again, big brother. It was big dude. First play we meet, he meets a little bit on my side of the line of scrimmage. They couldn't blitz, so that kind of helped a little bit.
right,
But he meets in our line of scrimmage. He able to get in the way of the quarterback and put his hand in the way and kind of disrupt the pass. And I turned to my quarterback and said, "Hey, man, that would never happen again. I'll tell you that right now."
right.
And so the next literally seven straight car accident collisions with my old butt and this big old dude, whack,
Man,
whack at the line of scrimmage over and over again. My quarterback said to me after the fifth one, he said, "Hey, man, it's all right, right? You don't have to keep this up. It's all right. I appreciate what you're doing, but it's all right." I was like, "Hey, man, keep throwing. We're going to be just fine." At the end of that game, right? So this is interesting. This kind of works that way. I'm mad, right? Because I'm ready to fight. And in order for me to do that, I got to put all of everything I have into this situation. So I'm
right,
ready to go. And my one of my fellow teammates actually played for the other team, and he ran up to me, gave me a big hug, like, "Hey, man, congratulations, cool." So I scored touchdowns and stuff like that too, and we ended up winning that game. And running through him, like pushing me away. He's like, "What's wrong, man? Come here. What's wrong?" He's like, "I'm finna go get him." Went to the middle linebacker, man. He picked me up off my feet like I was a little kid. Literally, like I was a little kid. Like, "Hey, man, who are you? Who is you, dude?" He's shaking me around, and I'm like, "Hey, man, put me down. Wait a minute. Hold on. He didn't do that to me in the game, but after the
Right.
game, he literally picked me up like a kid. And so that just shows you, it's that when you're playing the game, and it's different. Right. But me and him, hung out. We chapped it up. We hung out after the game, and he was like, "Man, little dude," and I look Mexican, right? So everybody think I'm Mexican. Little Mexican dude, where you come from? I'm like, "Hey, man, that ain't, I gotta prove what I am, who I am." He's like, "Man, you good peoples, man." So it was that was kind of one of them little inner game, stories where the little man won in the long run, in the long end.
That's what's up. How many years did you end up playing, like, professional?
Yeah, it was just with that 1 year.
That
Then
one
I
season?
tore my ACL. Uh, yeah, I had my tryouts with some bikes and stuff like that, and a week before, I don't know if you know Rich Melzer. Do you know that name at all? He
Mm-mm.
went to Washburn. He played Division III Player of the Year. Actually, he went to River Falls.
Okay, no,
Played
I don't know.
for like 10 years. 6'9" cat. Six. I tore my ACL patting boards on him, like literally patting the boards on him, and I've done it earlier in the day. And I was doing it the second time, and boop, ACL tore. So that was the end of my day.
End of your career. After that, so obviously your career over with. Obviously, and back then, we ain't got the technology we got now. ACL was known as a career ender. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you're not in the league, so you're not getting the best doctors to help you out. You
Right.
feel me?
Correct.
So you end your career. What was the next move? Is that how you ended up at DeLaSalle?
That's exactly it. Yep. I
For
was
real? Okay. So
rehabbing.
how, so how was that? So you tear your ACL and then you just like, I need a job. You got to work, right? So
Correct.
then you was like, I'm gonna just go where I know. You went back to DeLaSalle.
Right. So when I played arena, that was my senior year. Like, in football, you can kind of get done early and then still have a little time to finish. So it was my senior year, played arena football. And then after that year, I graduated.
Right.
So I was able to then come back home and kind of figure some stuff out. I was working out, tore my ACL before the tryout, and then school started, right? Because school starts about that time. And so, yep, went up to De La Salle, went up to Barry. Barry was my high school coach and said, "Hey, man, I
Nice.
need a job." And they hooked it up. They hooked me up right away with a full-time job coaching. I was basically at De La Salle from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night for the first like 5, 6 years of my job there.
So when you was there, so was that around like 99, 2000?
Yep, 2000.
So
2000
you
was that.
coached that championship team
It was the year after. I know. Yeah. I wish I did. It was the year after. I
the
know I
year
was.
after.
Yeah,
Oh man.
correct.
Yeah, when I was there, that's all they talked about.
Correct.
The
Correct.
2000 or whatever, 99, whatever team that won. I just be like, man, like, so you get the deal sell. And you coach some dogs out there. So and actually one of them told me to tell you hello, Alexander Robinson. I was
Hey,
texting him like, man, hey, give me something to ask Coach Grant because I know y'all got a good relationship as well. So
right,
he was
right.
like, man, tell him I said what's up, and then he obviously asked me a few questions. So when you was there, how was ball? Like, how was the team? Obviously they won a championship. What were some dudes that you coached? Prior to us, who were some dudes that you had coached? That was some dogs.
We had like, RJ Jackson was a name that was a pretty dynamic kid. But there was a few kids, through the years that were all right. Shoot, who was it? Trying to think about some names real quick. Um A-Rod. So Derek Robinson was a big De La Salle name, went to the league, played at Iowa, all that. His little brother was one of the first running backs that I got a chance to coach. He track star, baseball star. Like he really didn't care about
You talking about
football.
Aaron?
Yeah, right, Aaron.
Yeah,
And
I
so
know Aaron.
A-Rod. And so he didn't really care about football, but yet that was probably one of the better athletes that I had out of all of the guys in general to be able to start with it. So he was my beginning group in general. Gosh, who are some other names in that time frame? Shoot, Jamar Diggs, during them earlier years, and Cam Rundles, and you just mentioned
Alexander.
none, Mr. Cop.
Oh, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy Randall in that respect. So, I got a chance to be around a lot of good young talent early in that respect. But through the years, even after that, I got a chance to coach Jeff Jones after we got a chance to be at DeLaSalle, and then but
Hold on, we're gonna talk about that.
yeah, we're gonna come
Yeah, we're
back
gonna
to
talk about that. So I
correct,
want to ask you, how good was Alexander? Because I saw Alexander as an eighth grader, and I
right,
was like, that dude's a beast. So like, how good was Alexander?
man child. So he was his sophomore year is when I actually really noticed a difference in him, and his peoples would definitely let you know as well on the side as far as, hey, you need to be playing him. And I ain't gonna lie to you, his family kind of mentioned that after a couple games, and we're starting to get to see him a little bit more because he transferred. And I'm like, I think they're right. Alexander's a real kid. And so at the end of his sophomore year is when he started really getting that click. And then junior year was just, man, it was really, 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 when you see someone special running the ball, it's 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 like art, man. It just comes
Right.
together. It looks well, it's fluid, it's not forced. And he was that first person polished, that polished. He run through you, run around you, make it happen. Had that quick feet, the strength, explosion. I wish we could have thrown him the ball out of the backfield, but yeah, that's when you're like, all right, this is what we could do with some people, and he did it. He listened. Was not a hard dude, wasn't hard to coach. High and tight, you name it. Technique was it.
Okay, yeah. A Rod, that's my dog, man. He's a beast. So then you had did you ever get a chance? Did you coach Jeremy or would you?
Yeah, I was there. Yep, I was there for Jeremy. That was his running back coach too.
Yeah, I know you was there, but
Part.
I know you was coaching us.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
Right,
I had him more earlier when he was younger because Jeremy came in playing right away too,
right.
or like sophomore year
Sophomore
varsity.
year, right?
Yep, yep. And Alexander, I think he had like 550 or something. He had like 500 yards rushing in a game. So he's
Against Columbia Heights, he like broke the
yes,
record at
correct.
one point. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah. That's what's up. So 2006 season come and you inherit arguably, I'm just playing, one of the, no, I can say arguably one of the best classes that we DeLaSalle had, that 2010 class. Um, our freshman team, I just counted, we had like 11 people from that team go on and play college football. So,
man,
you come in, there's Evan, me, Walter, Bo Roberts, Muhammad, we had Jalen, Jared Scottself. We had John Hurdle at quarterback.
right,
Walter. All these dudes. Like I remember. I'm gonna tell you a funny story about Bryce. So I remember when camp started. I came like a day or two late because I was at Mississippi. I had a family reunion, and I don't even cuss on this podcast, but I'm gonna cuss. This dude, Bryce. I walk up. I had like this little headband on. I walk in. I'm looking. I'm like, dang man, these dudes big. But I'm thinking like that's what I'm finna play with. And
right.
they like, nah, you over there. And then Bryce was like, where the fuck you been at? I said, I was like, bro, I was in Mississippi. He said, you look like a country motherfucker. I said, what? That was my first interaction with DeLaSalle football. And then I remember on my life, he was like, what position you play? I was like, I play running back. He was like, all right, line up back here. Give him the ball. You did me a sweep. And I did my whoop, whoop, whoop. He was just like, all right, all right.
We
But
got
I
it.
ended up playing. I ended up playing safety majority of the time. But I play running back too, obviously. But talk about that squad, man. We had. I tell people that was the best time of my life playing on that team.
It was one of them situations. You know how when you say the days when you don't want to work out, you end up getting your best workouts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real example like that where I didn't get the head job at DeLaSalle, and Dick Weinberger did, and I was
Mm-hmm.
ready to leave.
Wait, so you tried to get the head coaching job before?
That was the first time,
It's okay, cause I'm gonna ask you something else. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and so I was hot, man. But what the one thing that God always does things for the right reasons. Weinberger was like, I'm going to give this to you as your team. You're going to be the head coach of this team. And he gave me 42 phone numbers. And I was like, what? We got 42 people. Give me the number, coach. And so me and Bryce hit the phone, called everybody. I don't know if I got a chance to call because, maybe I talked to your grandma, or something like that. But
Probably
uh,
yeah.
We did, man. We hit the phone. We got it going. There was like 42 of y'all that showed up that freshman year. And we're looking at this number and these big bodies and these athletic, man. I'm like, what? Let's go. Let's get this going. Bryce, my boy, is my D coordinator. Like, hey, we're gonna have some fun. And
Right.
we, you know, I used to, we're like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. We play off each other. You know,
Right.
like you said, man, where the hell you at? Who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm over there like, hey, let's get it going, y'all. Let's go. You know, we're
Right.
that little have fun time. And you guys were like clay, right? You could just mold whatever we wanted to do. You sucked it up. Y'all were able to do it no matter what adjustments, levels, all that. It was a dream come true, man, to have that squad. St. Croix Luther. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That like it was special things like that. We all of a sudden pulled a coach on that we didn't even know, and we're all talking to each other and all that.
Shout out to Coach Rob.
Yeah, right. Coach Rob makes a suggestion like, hey man, throw him off to the side. I'm like, Coach, I've been thinking about it the whole time. You're right. Let's do it. What do? We throw Sharon out on the side, put him on the edge. They don't follow you. They don't pay no attention. They got a little corner on you that I know you're finna eat up. Play action that butt straight off the side. And it was what, an 80-yard, 90-yard touchdown?
Uh-huh.
To win the game.
Win the
Literally
game.
win the game. Last second, running around. Man, that was beautiful, right? Like that was y'all
Yeah,
were
that was dope. Yeah, we had some dudes, man. So what was your first impressions on Evan as a running back?
Eric Dickerson. We called you right away, right? We knew who you was, right? I could see how you ran. I'm like, boom. And that's what we did, right? We labeled y'all after guys that we
We all the names y'all gave us,
Yep.
everybody has the same name till this day. Like you remember G? His
Right.
name is still Warren G. Anthony Warren, his name is Warren G. We don't call him Anthony. You
Correct.
know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And so that's why it was special. We had all that. We had nicknames, we had community, y'all was bought in and man, it was but the talent was crazy. It was nuts. That was the best team that I've seen hands down as a freshman in my coaching career.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we know too, because we talk about it all the time. So that's what's up, man. We end up going undefeated, playing a few JV teams. I
Right.
still got the highlight tape. Actually, it's actually in my PS5 right now. Like I said, I was just watching it, and
Hey,
I was like, man, we really used to go crazy. And then and the thing is, like, I be trying to tell people, I'm like, man, coach really put us all in position because we knew Evan was the dude. But then you gave me an opportunity to shine. You gave Walter an opportunity to shine. And then you really put us in position on defense. So we knew, like, when we got in older ages, like, we ain't Evan the guy. You feel me? So you put Walter in position to be a corner. That's where he thrived at. The rest of his career, went to college. You put me at safety. And my brother, Mike Winston, he was just like, you don't play no defense. You can't hit. But I remember, like, you and Bryce, like, putting that dog into me. And then after that, I was just like, yeah, you tell me, read the tackle. Let's read the guards. They're gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Boom. Ever since then, like, it was up. So I appreciate you for that for sure. So after that year, boom. Then you end up leaving and going to coach at St. Olaf.
yeah, yep. So that's where the second season came and they did not give me the job again. And now we're into politics. Now we're in some other things that are going on and I'm starting to see that at D happening. It was a weird thing. DeLaSalle is my love. I love it there, but they started treating me particularly a different way. So I got out of there real quick while I could, and yep, went to St. Olaf. Had a hell of a year out there. Heck of a year, sorry. Had some really
Are you
good.
good?
We were second in the MIAC. Lost like the last game of the season in order to make it to the playoffs. But that's what made me grow then. Now I'm going from a running coach to just a strict passing coach. And I had control of the offense in general to be able to communicate to the OC and all that. So I needed that again. It was one of them other blessings in disguise to bring me to that next level of coaching.
So I guess I'm gonna ask you this too, since we just talking about it, because we can talk about the rest of your career. So my senior year,
Yep.
Coach Weinberger got let go, whatever the situation was. In our head, we like Coach Grant. Like, that's the only person that we know that knows us, and this is your team. This is your team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're seniors now. So we always like, hey, Coach Grant, Coach Grant, Coach Grant. Did you go for the job that year as
Oh,
well?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yep, the second interview and everything. Yeah, both of them. I was the second interview, and what I was told technically, I was. If it wasn't them, it would have been me, kind of thing. But again, politics kind of come in. There were some weird people making the decision at the time. I mean, I don't mean to say they were weird because they're good people, but there were some pressures being put on people, and honestly, I just don't think. I think they wanted a white guy there, and I'm just going to say that. I think they just didn't want the minority, and then they started going in that direction afterward. Kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I was hurt because I knew if you was a coach, I was gonna get that ball.
Oh, man, just to see, woo, and y'all did it for a year,
No, you know
but
what it was. We were already good.
yes, sir.
We were a team that we didn't need no coaching. We didn't need no coaching. We just needed people to put us in position. Like you was gonna come and that was just gonna solidify. But like I mean, we was already solid from that foundation you gave us our freshman year. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? And you know that our class only lost 2 games as starters. We won freshman year undefeated, JV undefeated, junior year lost 1 game, senior year lost 1 game. Like how many people could say that?
correct.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie, I was hurt, but I mean, it worked out for us. But at the end of the day, though, like we all collectively wanted you to be our coach, but we couldn't make the rules back then, so it is what it is.
Appreciate that, man. For real. We was
Nah,
all
for
in the time.
yeah. So after that, didn't you end up being at Washburn, right?
Yep, yep. Coached there for 7 years, OC, and like you
What
said,
year did you get there?
it was, gosh, what was that?
Well,
09. I think it was 09 to like 14 or 15.
yeah, because my cousin was telling me you was there. He was like, man, your old coach over here. My cousin Jamie.
Yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, so he was telling me. I'm like, man, I was salty. I'm like, man, how y'all get him and we not? So you end up over there, and you said you end up coaching Jeff Jones, right?
Yeah, yep. They had a real good running back. That was a senior named Montrell Wade. You probably
Yep, that's my
Wade,
guy.
that. Yep. And he just had a crazy, unfortunate incident that happened. But that was it. That my first year was his senior year. And then Jeff ended up being the running back that year as a freshman. But that man, they had some talent over there too. It was real interesting to see the year before that, the talent that was there, and after. Man, this city had some guys for a little bit.
Yeah, how was it coaching over there with Jenkins?
It was cool. I grew up with Jinx, played ball against him, so the mentality, the thought process, the energy, the passion was similar, and we tried to get together as good a team as possible and get it going. But at Washburn, really, you you just got to play big teams, right? You got to play good teams when you get to the playoffs. So we're
Right,
teams that were just bigger than us in that respect, and so we kind of ran into some nemesis, but talent.
right. Talent was crazy.
Oh yeah,
So all right. Let me just ask you this: why we on the topic of
all right,
coaching? I know you. So you went to Irondale as well, right? Okay. So you go there too. So you had Alexander, you had Evan, but you didn't have Evan
right.
in the older years, but you seen the product he was, right? Then you had Jeff Jones, and then you have a couple 2,000 yard rushers at Irondale.
Yeah, I did. Yep. I had a dude named Parker Freiberg that
Okay.
rushed 2,000, and then a guy after him that I just got done coaching this last year. That's a hockey player, rushed for like 1,600 just recently. So yeah, I've gotten a chance to be with some yard,
Some dude.
some kids that some got it in.
So if you can name who is your top 5 running backs you coach, that's what I'm getting at.
Uh huh.
I put you on the spot.
I figure that's real. And I'm sorry, y'all, because if I don't say your name, it ain't y'all had some talent. You know, I ain't even gonna say a top of the list, but I'm gonna say a five in general. Evan's definitely in that five because again, I wish I would have got the individual chance to really get more into it to coaching Evan a couple years, but man, it was ridiculous the talent to see what he had just naturally. And Evan's a cool dude. He's like so soft spoken and easy
Quiet.
going, yeah, that like, man, just yeah, he was it. He was it. But Jeff obviously, Jeff Jones was real deal. You got to be real deal if you're gonna win the MVP of the Under Armour All American game as a Minnesotan, per se. Alexander, he's in that top five. Um, And then my guy at Irondale, Parker, he's like fourth, or whatever, but he's a doctor now. He's not even in the game in the respects. And then, the fifth one is the hardest because that's where it goes to the whole slew of everything, man. And so that's a tough one. That's where um I just don't know, man. Like I can't come up with it. Everybody almost fits that
Right.
that realm. I have like six guys that, but yeah, that's my five. Or I didn't give you five, but I'm cheating.
So as a coach, like what's like one of the most important things you learn from being a coach? Obviously, like small time head coach and then offensive assistant, coordinator, all that. Like what's one thing like one important thing or the most important thing you learn from coaching?
Hey, you got to know the game. That's the foundation part of it. You have to know the game, period. But it's also having the heart to know your players and the understanding and the thought process and the care and the vision to be able to see what things can come together. If you're not planned and organized, nothing's going to come together. And that's what, when we were with y'all, we had lesson plan, we had, practice plans every day, broken down by every 5 minutes, and this rotation and that rotation. We got this position group and that position. So that preparation makes the difference. Put in the time and you'll see good things happen.
What's the hardest part about coaching?
Y'all, no, man, dude, hey, man, it's a different
Not
day.
for real.
Yeah, straight up. Because at DeLaSalle, it was easier to have. Y'all had momentum. There was not a control factor, but like things weren't outside the box. Too
Mhm.
much. I would have fun. You'd have your thing. You'd get into trouble here and there, but it wasn't horrible. It seemed like now that we're in these days of coaching, foundation is gone. Nobody cares about your story. You're asking me about my story, man. Us old cats, we love it because we get to share things, and no one cares about that anymore. This generation, they don't care about how many touchdowns you scored or what you did. They just care if you're there.
Right.
So it is a different day in coaching, that's for sure. But that's why you're doing it, right? You're doing it for the Jimmies and the Joes in that respect. But yeah,
So, what is your favorite part of the game as a coach? What's your favorite part about coaching?
yeah. Man, the hard aspect of it, I'm a hitter. I love hitting.
Yeah.
I That's just a part of the game. But when you see kids trust themselves and people trust themselves to really, really buy in, body wise, right? You're gonna make a hit on a dude that's 230 pounds, 30, 40 pounds heavier than you. If you don't got the right technique and bringing it right, you're gonna look bad. But it can happen. And that when you start trusting that it can happen, that's what I love about the game. Because can't nothing beat you there. You're learning in life. You, example, are right there. What you're doing right now, the family you're raising, the education that you're providing these kids these days, and you're the product of the environment that I wanted to create. And so that's it right there. That's the love of it, man. Like I got goosebumps going on right now in my heart.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. No, for sure. Yeah, and honestly, not to keep bringing back that class in De La Salle, but like I said, 11 of us went on to play college football. Majority of us are all married, got careers, graduated from college. So like as a coach, like I did some small time coaching as well, and like to see that and just to have that community and still be able to talk like that was 18 years ago, and I can still call you and talk like it's nothing. Like I know if I ever need something, you got me. You know what I'm saying? So and that's how I feel about the players I coached as well. So yeah, man, I think that's like one of my favorite parts as well too.
right. What's it about?
So yeah, it's about giving back and then give back and then you pour into people. You know what I'm saying? So like I think that's like the good important part about coaching. So even thinking about that, do you think you even got any more aspirations to coach? Are you got any interest of being a head coach one day? Are you gonna keep going at it?
My little guy is going to be a freshman at Roosevelt, so I'm joining the staff. I've kind of lost that. When you coach, you want to be the best. You want to win championships. You want to go to state. I've been 20 years in coaching, and I've chased that mission. Now it's more about, like you said, the relationships, the building, the development. So my son's going to be a freshman at Roosevelt next year, and Gonna go join that little staff over there and get a chance to finally, coach my son. I've been coaching high school for his whole entire life and trying to get those kind of experiences a little bit right there. So I do eventually think about after maybe a couple years, maybe looking into being a head coach, but it's a real deal. If you're gonna be a head coach, you got to take it 100%. And that's how I am. If I'm gonna be that way, it's got to be 100%. So who knows? It is still in the future. But I just love, man. I love not having to be the head coach because you can do so much more. Um, head coach gets restricted at times, and I got.
I feel you. Man, your son's about to be a freshman? That went by quick.
Right, correct. It all does. Life is. It's a real deal.
So even, let's just bring it back a little bit. So after you graduate, you end up going back and getting your master's degree, right? Right. What did you get your degree in?
In counseling.
Counseling. So you're a school counselor now.
Hey, who would have thought? Who would have thought? When you cause enough problems, maybe that might help other people.
Right. But like you said, you got a story to tell. You got a lot of positive things. You got a lot of, no, you shouldn't be doing this. This is what you should be doing instead. You got a whole realm of like different scenarios to tell these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like you live the life. You know what I'm saying? So for you to be a counselor, like if you was our counselor at DeLaSalle, that'd have been dope. Like, obviously I talked to you anyways, but it's like, man, like people need that. Like, we don't need nobody that's gonna sugarcoat you. You need to tell them the real. And I know you're telling these kids the real. So like, how's that transition been? I'm like, even though you've been doing it because you do it through coaching, but how's that been like? And I know you worked in plenty of different schools. So like, talk about like just that aspect, like the job of counseling these kids.
It's similar to coaching. You kind of got to get to know students. You got to let them know that you matter. They matter. Again, this generation is a little bit different. They don't want to hear about stories or the past. They want to be about what's going on now. Where I can cause a barrier is I tend to be serious. You know me. I'm kind of a serious dude, and people don't want serious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I got to learn to adapt with and kind of change, not be so much. When we grew up, if you made a bad mistake, you might die. You might not be around anymore. You might be in prison for the rest of your life. So, I've been to jail. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be there. So I don't know. You just kind of learn through that, kind of thing. And when with the kids that I'm working with, the serious you go, the worse it is. So I gotta just kind of loosen it up, man. So that's nowadays. It's interesting. I feel like I'm the old man because I'm saying things that people don't relate to anymore, or I'm bringing up stories and topics that people haven't heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Generation and movie pieces and stuff like that. That man, they don't nobody know who the five heartbeats are anymore. Like.
And most of these kids, surprisingly, they don't like. They play sports, they don't watch it.
And that right there, that's everybody thinks they're a professional. They're gonna go D1 and don't play for their high school. So it's a lot of that.
I got a couple more questions. So now with the landscape of like sports, what do you think about like the NIL stuff? Like I know that's big. Like high school kids are getting it now. These cats it's crazy. I heard somebody say like kids aren't going to school for the right reasons now. They going to schools for, it's not if you're gonna impact the school, it's how much money you can give me. So like how do you feel about that? And obviously like as much as I love like the kids are getting paid, but I definitely think it's gonna be like a lot of like dysfunction going on because of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
They're trying to pull some things back now. When they opened the door, they opened it wide open and didn't have any regulations or understandings of what they knew. People knew what was going to happen. Like you said, I'm so glad students are able to make some money now. How much people have passed on and made these universities through the years. So that system needed to happen. Something had to change that respect. But a lot of this is just moving where money comes from or moving where money goes to. So the NIL thing has been happening for years. So
Mm-hmm.
these programs been getting money from years from these businesses and these outside alumni, but it hasn't been happening officially like it is now. So it's good to see. When you know the systems, you know that it's just kind of a transferring of who's making payments when it really comes down to it as far as your tuition with the NIL piece versus when the college used to do it. How much money now that can save a college when they're not having to pay for that student's tuition, and they are getting some NIL endorsement. money pieces. There's a lot of dirty stuff that's going on in that. But no matter what, as we know, as long as the people are getting paid. The creation of what it does though, and the jumping around and kids being able to go to 4 or 5 different major D1 programs, have those experiences. I wish I could do it. I mean,
Right.
like I,
Right.
no loyalty, but there's no loyalty in the league either, right? So
Right.
you learn the systems, you learn through the process, and I'm glad kids are getting paid though. That's
Yeah. Now they got somewhere you could go 2 years of JUCO and it don't count towards your eligibility, and you could play a whole 4 years. Man, listen,
yeah,
I ain't gonna lie, I'm not a fan of these 6 and 7 year seniors. I'm not a fan of that. Go get a job.
right.
But I get it. If you paying a kid 50,000 to 100 something thousand a year, why would I go get a job?
Hey, stay play one more year. Why even try to make it to the league if you don't have to? You might make it more in college nowadays. Stay
Like
in
most of them dudes do. They make way more money, and then like they get to the league and they in the G League making bare bone minimum, and you just made $2 million in 9 months. Like, come on now.
correct,
I
correct,
get it, but I'm hating too because I'll be like, bro, go get a job. You 25. Like, come on.
correct. No, I get that.
Yeah. So I got one more question. So you did the coaching thing. Now you're making an impact in the school system. What do you want your ultimately? What do you want your legacy to be?
That's a good question. A lot of people, we want to be remembered technically in life, and that's not necessarily what my goal has been. It's just to really truly have interactions with folks, man, that are genuine. Um, I came from a generation where like there were different times that moved people in big directions and large amounts of people. It seems like that's changing nowadays. We got some crazy people, politician wise, and what's going on. We got some directions that we ain't never even seen before in my generation of what's happening, and all that. But really, really just about my heart, your passions in your heart. I loved y'all. You guys made my life, literally. And so you end up living through your players and through your interactions and your systems. And the love, really, really what it's about. Love, passion, and being there for one another.
And one more thing, if you can go back and talk to, let me say, 14-year-old Mike Grant, what was one thing you would tell him?
Man, I wish I would have took my academics more serious, took my life serious, a little bit more serious that way. What you do matters. What steps you make matters. What you're doing in the ninth grade affects what you did in the 12th grade, which affects 2 years, 3 years after that, which affects, right? Like everything's affecting something in the future. And those are the times that I wish I would have stopped, asked a few questions about the people that were around me to get a real true picture of what they knew, instead of just life passing you by so fast. There's so much stuff we get into, and all that, just to slow down a little bit and pay attention to what's going on.
Nah, that's real. That's real, man. That's real. That's those are some hard questions to answer because it's like, man, like, and as you get older, you do a lot of reflecting. Like I do a gang of reflection now that I'm like married, I got kids, wife,
Right.
house, all that. It's like, and I know where I came from. You know what I'm saying? So I do a lot of reflection. Sometimes I be crying, like it's crazy because it's like, man, as blessed as I was, and I had good people like you in my corner, pushing me, being there for me. So it just, it's hard to think about those times. But I want to give you your flowers because, like I said, when I came to DeLaSalle, man, like I said, I didn't want to go there, but people like you, Coach Bryce, you guys really took us in. You made us, want to work for everything we got. I feel like you made that team unselfish, and we were that way throughout our whole career. You know what I'm saying? And I know you was always rooting for us. You always had our backs. Like even now, I know you're still rooting for us. And I see you, even if we don't talk for months, I see you. We, chop it up like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we just saw each other the day before. And I want to thank you for putting a dog and a battery in my back because honestly, we're both little guys. You know what I'm saying? But I know you believed in my skill, and you know what I'm saying. For you to be that size, and I remember you trucking us in practice, playing with us, all that. Like you know what I'm saying. Like I said, this little dude can do it. You put it in you put it in me that I can do it as well. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate you for that. You always been a stand up dude, good dude, my fellow Northside dude. And we love you, coach. I love you, and all your boys love you, So I just wanted to tell you that, before we hopped off of this.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you for all that. This does make me full. That heart is full right now. And keep it up. Like I said, people paying attention. So it's good to see, man. Appreciate you.
I guess I got one more question. Alexander told me to ask you this. He said, what happened at practice when Tom O'Lean tried to tackle you?
Yeah. So the time before that, O'Lean kind of he's got a little head in him, a little head bunner, and kind of poked my knee a little bit with his helmet. And kind of try to get me a little bit, and I know that, when you're football, you know what's going on, and so I just had to give him a little bit of the pickup ram, with the forehead and the head-to-head helmet times, and it probably wasn't the best situation to do, but I think he got knocked out. I think it knocked him out. To tell you the truth, not my first time as a coach, and I think honestly that was the last time we put on equipment, probably.
Wait, so you had on full pads?
Oh yeah. That was the good old days.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't do that with us. We'd have been dead on that field.
It was fun, man. Game of football is something you can. I love it because you can be my size and prove who you are. I just love it.
All right, man. We're going to wrap it up, man. Thank you for being on the huddle, coach. I appreciate you.
Most definitely.